What is up, you guys? We are here for our Saturday night secret sermon. This is our weekly segment entitled Secret Teachings of Jesus, where we delve into the Gnostic Gospels. I just was curious about reading them, and I thought in order to really make it like, a practice and something that, actually happened, I thought, hey, why not make it a weekly episode that we could all share together and we could explore as a group. So I'm not an expert. I'm just, curious. I am a Kabbalah student and I have been for many years. And I've always generally been kind of obsessed with cosmology and all of that. So here we are. So we're now we've been in the Nag Hammadi scriptures, which these were the codexes found in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. And we are currently in the Gospel of Philip. If you go to my channel, Light, Love, Magick, there's a Secret Teachings of Jesus playlist. And you can scroll back to the beginning. And the first book we did was the Secret Book of James. And so that one was really fun. It was like scene work and dialogue, and it's kind of like playing out a scene. But the Gospel of Philip is different. It's these individual like segments of text, and they're really cryptic, and they're very like metaphysical and symbolic, and so but also some of it like refers to like the teachings around the tree of life and the nature of the cosmos and all of like the deepest principles of all of the things that we're talking about through the Bible. So there's a lot of Kabbalistic references here, I think. So I don't know, basically I just grab a portion that starts speaking to me. And then once I start getting some downloads, I just turn on the camera and start from there. Usually we're doing this much later because I usually work on Saturday nights. But for the past several weeks, I've just been like experimenting with opportunities to, if I'm going to take a cut in the week that will extend my days off. And then I also was like, man, it'd be nice if I could get a full Shabbat. And so that makes Saturday a prime option for taking cuts. And we will talk more about that later, like when we talk more about this passage, because I think it's connected. Okay, so I will begin. So we're in the Gospel of Philip, and this week's portion is laughing. And I will read this and I will unpack this line for line, but I'm going to read it a couple of times for us. Okay. So, laughing. The master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Someone said, that is a Christian. The person said again, that is the one who went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Redemption is no laughing matter, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. If the person despises the body and considers it a laughing matter, the person will come out laughing. So it is also with bread, the cup, and oil. Though there are mysteries higher than these. All right, let's read again. So, laughing. The master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Someone said, that is a Christian. That person said again, that is the one who went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Redemption's no laughing matter, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. If the person despises the body and considers it a laughing matter, the person will come out laughing. So it is also with bread, the cup, and oil, though there are mysteries higher than these. Okay, so the master put it very well. They're talking about Jesus here. So Jesus put it very well when he said that some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Someone said that is a Christian. That person said again, that is the one that went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Well, baptism is something that we do as a Christian, and we do that because when Jesus began his ministry, like right before that, he had John the Baptist baptize him, and it was right after that that he started collecting his followers and started to like kind of activate his mission, so to speak. So knowing that once he started on this mission, it was like a ticking time bomb, because he knew the end game was that he would be crucified. So like he wasn't in a hurry to like run in and do this like immediately, because I mean, in a way he was like happy to do the work, but he was also like, well, this is going to be my like countdown to, crucifixion. So anyway, to mark Jesus's beginning into this next level of his life and his purpose and his mission, he was baptized by John the Baptist. And so it was like the old Jesus, the simple private life Jesus, the civilian Jesus, the individual. It was like Jesus went down into the water and died to that person, what we would think of as our ego, right? That the self, the personality, the flesh. And so when he arose the Christ, the Messiah, who was now accepting his purpose and his higher plan and his higher mission to literally give his life as a sacrifice, to save humanity. So he died to the old self, the old path, the old timeline, the old fate, the old trajectory, and rose up, the Christ, aware, an active player in the game, ready to go into the mission, ready to do God's work. So he rose up a new creature. It was like he died and resurrected. He went in by choice. He said, you know what? I'm giving up this old self, this old personal life that I'm having, that I am enjoying. And now I'm giving up my life for a life of service to mankind, to others, to being a vessel for my Father's work, to bring light into the world. So Jesus was the ultimate channel. He was the ultimate sacrifice. He was the ultimate bringer about of this redemption of mankind. It was literally like he had to come here as a perfected human being and be crucified and killed and slaughtered as an innocent by his own choice to pay the cosmic debt of the weight of the fall of humanity, when humanity felt the separation from God, the shame of the original fall from the Garden of Eden, because that was the birth of the ego. And that was what divided us from that perfect union and bliss and nirvana of being completely connected to God at all times and remembering who we were as divinely a sovereign and awakened and human beings, right? So we forgot all about that. We came here, and so we've all been working off these like cycles of tikkune, right? And as humankind, as souls, we have been given like this rent for being here in physical bodies, and it's all this like this original fall of mankind that we inherited, because we are all like pieces of the original souls of Adam and Eve. So we're like all like these like familial like souls that all share that same original connection and that original soul. So we're all here trying to alchemize the darkness and the density left in the cosmos. And so what we do is we find our own fear, and we find our own scarcity, and we find our own doubt, and we find our own prejudices and hard-heartedness, and we look at that, and we go deep, and we feel it, and we explore it, and we let it go, we surpass it, we transcend it, and we let that be not buried away, but really changed, really transmuted into compassion and forgiveness, and that redeems us, that delivers us from that bondage, from the thing that owned us, that controlled us, that had this like dominion over us. We then reclaim our own sovereignty and claim dominion over that thing, which is part of this season that we're in right now, of Capricorn season. Capricorn is the devil card, right? Capricorn is represented by that devil energy, that earth energy of being sort of bound and enslaved and sort of restricted. And it also represents the Egypt, right? The what would enslave the Israelites. And so we come to the Capricornian season, and we usually are met with some sort of pain or struggle with control or with our ego, and like some kind of pattern or issue that we maybe thought that we've grown past, that we've healed or that we've transcended. And so we have this like familiar test again, so we can feel that pain and feel it again, and then choose differently, like choose to actually separate ourselves from our reactive ego pattern that we had gone into in the past, and then actually pause and perceive it differently and respond on purpose differently, and claiming that cause consciousness like the creator, being like the creator, and not being an effect consciousness all the other times. So we have to like come back around again to the same time and place to meet that moment again. And it's like retake that test now that we've integrated more of our soul's awakening, and now that we've integrated more of that higher self in. Like for instance, like overcoming your tikkune means going against what's in your like easy nature to do. So going against your nature, but in the form of like pushing yourself into growth. So like if you're the kind of person who has a hard time speaking out and speaking up, then your tikkun is to like find the courage to speak up for yourself when you need to. But some people find it easy to clap back and speak up for themselves, and they're always speaking almost too much. And so their tikkun would be to go against that nature and try to restrict and be more disciplined in and have more control over what they choose to say and what they choose to not say, right? Watch their words. Watch their motives when they choose to speak up. Watch, pick their battle. Start to learn how to have control around that. Not let it control them. A person who finds it easy to relax and doesn't like to work needs to be challenged more to work. Whereas a person who's like a workaholic and who is sort of like driven to go to work all the time might be challenged to relax. Someone who is, maybe has fears around money might be forced to face fears around money and find abundance and freedom from that fear of money. So, for instance, this is what's happening for me right now in this Capricorn season. So I am usually in January, historically, I have usually either been in my adult life, either in the restaurant industry or in the film and television industry. And for both of those industries, January is like dead. There's hardly any work. There's hardly any like business. It's just very slow, very quiet time of year. Naturally speaking, as human beings, we have been in the same situation since the dawn of man, because January in the Northern Hemisphere is like you're well into the winter, you're past the time of harvest. It's like you're trying to like sustain for another, many weeks ahead. And it's just like, it's so soggy, it's so wet, it's so dark, so cold. and the coziness of the holidays is now behind us. And so it's like, this is traditionally a time of year historically where we're faced with fear and scarcity and doubt and, you know, our like mortality and our fragility and our dependence on people and things. And so like the challenge this time of year, and even in my reading this week, it was like, become less dependent on people and things. And I'm like, okay, well, I've been, you know, the kind of person that doesn't necessarily care what people think of me always. So that's not so much the issue. But then I was like, okay, for me, like, I'm always feeling more like I feel hyper vigilant around making money and going to work and providing myself like consistency and security. And it's weird because the industries I've always been in, I've chosen industries that are very inconsistent, and you have to really build a thick skin and a very strong faith and security in that, within that. And it helped me cut my claws with just trusting that the Creator is my source and nothing else. The job isn't, the gig isn't, the table isn't, it's nothing is my source but the Creator. And so regardless, if I make my honest effort to do what the Creator wants me to do, then the amount of money that I'm supposed to be making that week will come to me somehow or another. Whether it's through the tables, or whether people book a reading, or whether somebody like just sends a PayPal through my description box. Like that's happened like not a million times. I wish it happened a million times, but like it's happened a lot, right? And so it's just like, you never know, but God will make sure that you make the amount of money that you're supposed to make that week. And if you force the universe to give you more, then it'll slip through your fingers in some way or another, and you'll have chaos. And so, and if you keep facing, like if an issue keeps coming up over and over again, and you somehow continue to bypass these tests without fully like learning and integrating the lesson, then they just keep coming up again and again. Okay. So January, historically quiet this time of year, historically like a bad money month. And so I have gone through a range of emotions and feelings of anxiety and terror during January's. I have been in a state of absolute, like, where there were years in film and video where like there had been no gigs for a while, and the bank account was like at zero and rent was due, and I had this like burning like feeling, like almost like what I would imagine fibromyalgia feels like, just like the terror of financial stress and trauma running viscerally through your nervous system. And it's like the moment in the midst of that kind of pain and fear and fire, I was able to shift my understanding that God was not going to forsake me, and that everything was fine, and that as soon as I could find calmness and peace in that, I knew I would get a gig or something. And that always happened within 24 hours, if not within the hour. It's like clockwork. It's amazing. It's like miraculous. So there were other years where I would do something like a side hustle to try to make ends meet, or, you know, just bust my ass through the whole January though. Like even like the things that like one year I did Lyft, and I literally worked day and night to just barely make it by. And once I got back to the restaurant industry, everything was so much more consistent than had been in film. So I was like feeling more comfortable than ever. And so I'd already like faced much harder Januaries. But at the same time though, you do get, it gets very anxious, especially if you're like constantly, you know, like they're making cuts at work, and it's very easy to get drawn back into that anxiety of, oh, I need to work, oh, it's not in my power, oh, I'm gonna get cut, or oh, I'm feeling like guilty, I should take a cut, or I feel fearful what if I don't? And then you think about the political implication of like being, seen as a person who never takes a cut. And, it's just like all of these versions of dramas have played out. And I've been like, I'm not taking a cut. I'm not going to get cut for the floor. It's going to be the end of the world. And there's just like whatever it was where my mind space was around like not getting to work and finances in January, it wasn't relaxed. It wasn't in cause consciousness. It wasn't in a state of control. It wasn't in a state of meeting it by choice. I was in a state of effect consciousness, being reactive to the poverty that I could see, the scarcity, the lack, the fear, the uncertainty, the anxiety. And so I was falling prey into the illusion, into the drama, into the soap opera of that story again, right? And so I have gone through various stages of being aware of this but still feeling all of it and still being trapped in that illusion. But this year, it's so crazy that like I took lots of cuts through the end of the year, through the holidays, after the holidays, more than I intended. And it was so weird because tonight I was excited to go to work. I was feeling good. I was feeling rested. I was feeling ready to go in. But something told me, like something very faintly early in the day was like, you're probably not going to go in tonight. You're probably going to have a full Shabbat. I was like, I'm not really planning on doing that. I was like, maybe the will take me out. But something told me, like, I was like led, take a cut. And I was like, am I sure I need to do this? Like, and it was like, you need to take a cut. You need to take it by choice. Because I was like, can I just wait for the will to cut me? And it was like, no, you have to do this on purpose. And what I was getting was that I had to take control, take sovereignty, not be at the mercy of the whim of the wheel, or the wheel of like, it's like a way to like pull names out of a hat to see who gets cut from the floor. So you're not at the whim of this or of destiny or of fate. It's like you're taking your fate into your own hands by choice. You're saying, I know God will provide for me. And I, in my nature, vigilantly push myself even past the point of burnout to work. So I know that I'm not a lazy person by nature. And by nature, my anxiety would have me going to work, pushing myself. But today I was like, what if I just took a cut? And, it was like, if you take it on purpose, knowing that you're going to be secure, that this is the assignment to face that fear and to do the opposite of what you used to. Because if you could abundantly embrace January as a time to rest, like I've been working on just like to do things around the house and resting and, just reset, all of that stuff for January, my manifestation list, and getting back into like good, healthy routines and deep cleaning and reflecting and all of that. And so it's like doing that, taking that on as like an excitement, like, ooh, I feel so good about that. That makes me feel abundant in January, instead of feeling like desperate and like I have to put so much effort to hold it all together, trying to like keep some remnants of control. It's like there is no control. Because like one year I worked super hard and I made like, more money. And the next year I tried to work just as hard, but then like still couldn't make that much money. So it was like, I was just realizing it's like, to a certain degree, I have to give my best, and I have to also like surrender my agenda to the creator, and I have to be balanced, and I can't be like so rigid with myself that I can't take time off, that I can't do, I have to be compassionate and flexible and also hardworking and have integrity. If I do everything I can to meet that, and like I'm at that point, I just need to be obedient to God and trust that God is going to give me the amount of money that I'm supposed to have. Because if I have more than what is meant for me, it's going to create chaos because I don't have the vessel to contain it, which was it's so funny, because when I was trying to decide whether I should take this cut today, I was trying to confirm that I wasn't just egotistically wanting to have a lazy day. And so I got my pendulum out to confirm. And the pendulum was confirming. And I was like, shoot, I really don't want to take this cut. And I was like, this is why, because when I'm asking, I have to be obedient, right? I'm getting the answer. At the same time, I was watching my Kabbalah teacher have an interview with Lewis Howe on a YouTube video. And he was literally like speaking to this exact situation as it was playing out. I was like, yes, but is it, like, am I supposed to take this action even though it's like, it makes me, I'm nervous about it. I'm like, it's like discomfort. I'm going straight into the poverty. Like, should I be doing this? And it's like, at the same time, he goes, it's like, if the tests start showing you pain, it's like proactively go after more of it. And like, it's like you dominate it and like you take like the sovereignty back or something. It was just like, yes, I understand this. It's like I am revealing more light the more I embrace this test. And so I am laughing at the body, the rags of the physical, because the eternal gems that are being revealed here is that I would have spent the money that I would have made in the shift on bills or something, but I will forever have this moment that I have transformed and transmuted this thing that previously used to cause me terror, that would burn in me like living hell. And now I'm in heaven and I'm laughing. I'm just like, everything's gonna be fine. There's nothing that I need to worry about. Ha 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 ha. The Creator has me under complete control, and like everything's under control. And so my earnest heart and my consciousness, I said, the Creator, I was like, look, if I'm being irresponsible here, please have grace, because what I think you're asking me to do is take a leap of faith, take an act of faith, knowing that the means will be provided. And in the meantime, it's an act of sharing because somebody else gets to work. And by this, I'm revealing more light because I'm overcoming a deep-seated fear of scarcity and reactivity and reactive consciousness. And I am recapturing the sparks of light that I lost by time traveling back and grabbing those from every time this time of year that I did something in a state of fear and reactiveness and in a state of despair, right? And so you take all that back from the scales and you put it back to the side of the light and you take it back from the opponent. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so really valuable tangent there we went on, but let's read the passage again, and then let's literally unpack the passage. So, laughing. The master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Some said, that is a Christian. The person said again, that's the one who went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Redemption's no laughing matter, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. If the person despises the body and considers it a laughing matter, the person will come out laughing. So it is also with bread, the cup, and oil, though there are mysteries higher than these. Okay. So the master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. So basically, what I'm perceiving recently is, you know how we talk about, like, as physical incarnated souls, we come into this realm and it's like this material dimension, and we move through it, and we don't realize that there are rules, spiritual rules to the game, energetic rules. We've understood the material realm, the 3D rules, which we know as like physics and science and the rules of society and things like that. But there are also spiritual and energetic rules and laws to the cosmos. And so when our soul knows this, our spirit knows this, but like our physical human animal brain, it has connection to this information, but until it is awakened and turned on and become an active application in your operating system, it's there dormant, right? So you have to set up your account. So at a certain point, we are invited as human beings through catalytic events in each person's life that might stir a spiritual awakening, where what you thought you once knew is crumbled beneath your eyes, before your eyes, and you are seeing that there's more to life than you thought, that there is a higher order to things, and that might accentuate your belief that you already have in a God, or it might spark in you a seed of belief in a God that you didn't think that you believed in. Whatever happens, we are awakened to like a more refined way of having our being and our living in the world. So even though I was raised as a Christian, and a pretty spiritual Christian at that, I wasn't awakened to a higher consciousness until I went through a conscious awakening of spirit. Then I realized, oh, I have control over my thoughts. I'm not the victim of circumstance. There's a dimension, a realm that I'm living in, and I can be an active player in this game when I know the rules of engagement. And so I think of it as like, once you start awakening, you become an active player in the game. And the matrix that we move through is like interactive and organic. And so as we awaken, the matrix morphs and shifts and offers us these simulations, right? These training simulations that we go through, that offer us the scene work to do, that lets us go through these scenarios with different players in the game. And so before we come here on earth, before we incarnate to come in and do all this transformational work, as souls, we're like, okay, so I have all these assignments in my bag of shit that I'm bringing to earth, and you've got those assignments in your bag of shit. So let's organize some theatrical dramas where we can play these roles with one another and help each other work these things out. So, sometimes we're, the protagonist, sometimes we're the antagonist, sometimes we're a supporting character, sometimes we're the main character. But we're all playing these parts together so that we can trigger and activate these dormant parts of ourselves, right? And work on those through this lifetime, through this incarnation. So we become active players in the game, and the Matrix is presenting us these scenarios and these scenes to move through so that we can show up and respond in accordance to our level of consciousness at the time. So we keep going through these scenarios and these patterns until we become more awakened to ourselves, more self-realized, more on purpose, less reactive, less in auto response, less in our animal instincts of grasping and trying to make things, feel safe for our human, fragility and all of that. We become like these more sovereign beings who are like, okay, I see what's going on here. I see through the illusion. Now I know that I am like, you refine your ability to be this player in the game. You become a better player. You'll play out. So you're moving through these phases and these levels more intentionally and more awakened and more awakened. And so as you move through these levels, though, your opponent shows up with you, and it up levels with you at every level. So there's always this resistance that you're meeting in the perfect equivalence of your growth. So, where are we? The master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Okay, so when we come into this realm, this is a realm that expires. We have an expiration date. This version of me is only one incarnation of me, but I've had the same soul and the same spirit for my whole existence. And so when we come into this realm, it's like every day we come in and we're putting on this virtual reality and we forget about everything else around us. And we go in and we put on this helmet, we put on our flesh suit, and we're presented with this very convincing holographic projection that feels real, that seems real, that we think is real. And so we get caught up in the illusion of it, and we forget that it's presenting us these dramas to awaken our courage, to awaken our compassion, to awaken our dormant talents and strengths, and help us overcome our weaknesses and face our fears. And so we get lost in the game and we're like, we become reactive. And so that's when we sort of lose our power levels and our points. And when we regain those power levels by realizing that, we want to be more like the creator. And so we become more of the cause consciousness. So we pause in moments of scenarios, presenting, and we say, okay, wait, why is this here? What is the context? How is this here to help me actually get points in the game? Is it something in me that I need to heal, that I need to repair, that I need to transcend? Is this a temptation I need to squash? Is this a fear that I need to face? Is this a weakness I need to overcome, or one that I need to restrict? Like which is it? And navigating these challenges is part of the skills that we attain as these players, right? So, the thing is, what's laughable is that when we come into this world, we think that if we die, that is the end all be all, and that's everything, and that's it, and that's the most serious thing on earth. And it's so funny because our spirit and our souls are all like, you're just in the game, like you just have your helmet on, like all you have to do is take your helmet off. You are an eternal being. Your consciousness will still be here. Yes, we do like being in the physical, right? It's the same as like when we're on the internet, we'd rather be in the physical presence of someone rather than just like chit-chatting on the internet. But it's kind of the same. It's like when we're not in the body, it's like being online. It's like you can interact with one another, but there's not the same physicality. And you can't evolve your soul from the non-physical. You have to be in this body and meeting resistance and feeling the fear and forgetting who you are every day. So it's interesting too, because every night when we go to bed and we go to sleep, our soul ascends from our body, and we go through this miniature sort of semi-death state where our soul goes up to the upper realms. We meet with headquarters. We go through basically the plays from the day. How did you transcend your darkness? Did you overcome yourself today? Like how are you doing? Like, are you coming along? Are you ascending? Did you purge any of your negativity, or did you create more negativity? It's like we kind of go up against like, headquarters, parole. Like if you want to think of it as like we're sitting here like sort of like spies, and we have a handler, and like we're on a mission, so we have this spiritual team that sort of reviews like our, ongoings, like tutors, but they're sort of like judges, so we go through this miniature judgment day. So we go through this death of this body every single day where we ascend back to the real level, right? Where the real world is. And we realize that we're eternal there, and that's the real reality. And it's so much more, vast and profound than this one. But yet we're so caught up in this one that we forget. Every time we come back, every day, we forget all the memories of everything that we are and everything that we really are and know. And then we come back into this realm to play the game again and to see how far we can get today. It's amazing. So that's why it says the master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. And so it's like when we go into heaven laughing, it's like we remember, because we remembered while we were in this incarnate state. Oh, I remember who I really am. I remember where I'm really from and where I'm really going back to. So this, although it's great, it's not the end all be all. It's not the end of the world. And it's so funny because when we come out of heaven and we come into this life, we come in laughing like, haha, this is not real. It is and it isn't, it's not permanent, but we are. And then, when we leave the other realm, we go in laughing because we're like, oh my God, this is, you guys, don't laugh. Don't laugh. They're like, we're laughing at you. You're gonna be so scared soon. You're gonna be shitting your pants, like you be crying, you be so upset. You're like, nah, stop, and you're gonna think it's all real, and it isn't. And it's laughable because this is such a blip on the radar. It happens so fast, and yet it's precious and it's so valuable because the spirit side, they know that we can't do anything. We can't make a difference. We can't make an impact. We can't tip the scales of the cosmos. We can't fight for the side of the light. We can't take the darkness and take those sparks of light back and reclaim them unless we're in the physical body. So here, as pathetic as we are the titans that the cosmos are relying on. And so the people who are awakened and they understand, even the people that are awakened, there's only a sliver of them that actually understand what we're doing here. And the rest of them are in the midst of awakening. They're starting to like get hip to this isn't all that it appears to be, but they're not exactly sure that the literal assignment is to try to like tip these scales, and we're supposed to be here like sifting through our garbage to do that. Our imperfection is the fuel or the raw material that we're working with. So the master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Now, also, it is spiritually believed in so many cultures that when we die, our level of comfort with the ethereal realms and the spiritual realms and understanding that we're a soul and like understanding that consciousness and that separation from the body will help us navigate the upper realms and the non-physical realms. Otherwise, when we die, it can be very disorienting to shift. And like some people did not realize they were dead right away. And like I had a situation where like my best friend from like 10 years ago got into a sudden accident, and I had these dreams that he was coming to me and I had to tell him that he was dead. And he was very confused, but once he realized that, it was like his gray face, it like turned into like this like, oh, okay, and it like kind of set him free and woke him up from like the dream that he was in on the other side. Well, my mutual friend actually told me the same thing, that was happening to her too. So we both at some point intercepted him in the dream world to tell him like, your body died, and so that's why in like the Kabbalah Center, when we have the holy holidays, we always say prayers for those who have passed on to help them navigate the afterlife. And there is also a belief that hell is not necessarily a place that you're condemned to forever, only for if you're bad or good, but that each person goes through a process of this fiery purification when we die to purify ourselves of any leftover negativity or density before we fully exit the material realm and go into the upper realms. So depending also on the amount of like negativity you were able to transform in your life and forgiveness that you were allowed, you were able to give and receive, and all of that emotional work and that spiritual, renewal, all of that helps to make that experience, like a light shower when you go through it. But people who are mired in, negativity and illusion have a harder time. It's a longer, more intense process. So some will come out laughing and some will go in laughing. So the master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing and they have come out laughing. Some said, that is a Christian. The person said again, that is the one who went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Now, when Jesus went down into the water, he knew what he was doing, and he went down into the water, perfected the water itself as an element on earth. And we hear that referenced in the other parts of Philip. But he came up. So when he went down in the water, he knew that this was the act that started the process where he was going to sacrifice himself on behalf of the state of humanity, and he would be giving up the Jesus the man, and he would be rising as Jesus the Christ. This is also what happens during coronation when a royal takes the throne. Like when Queen Elizabeth was crowned Queen Elizabeth, she had to die to Elizabeth, the personal Elizabeth, and had to take on the crowned aspect of the Queen Elizabeth, who is now a servant of the channel of God and a servant of the people, which is beyond personal Elizabeth. Which, if you've watched The Crown, you can see it's so good the way that the women who've portrayed Queen Elizabeth have portrayed the struggle that she has between Elizabeth the woman and Elizabeth the crown. It's just crazy. So same as Jesus of Nazareth and Jesus the Christ, and then same for when we are the old self versus the redeemed Christed self. When we take the Christ, activate that in our heart, and take that on as a discipline to let that influence change us and take us through a process of dying to the old self, to purposefully go into that darkness and die to that former fear, die to that former selfishness, die to that former flesh consciousness, flesh agenda, and become sovereign over the control that fear had over you. And then you reclaim that, and you hold power and dominion over that, and you choose with sovereignty your free will action, having overcome the fear and being no longer reactive to it, or the addiction, or the temptation, or the sadness, or whatever it is that keeps hold of you in your own way. So the person said again, that is the one that went down into the water and came up Lord of all. And so we do that. We go down into the water and come up, we're baptized to follow in the footsteps, to do what Jesus did. Now, do most Christians have this sense of purpose of all of this that's going on? No, some of them are just doing what they think that they're supposed to do. Some of them have various levels of understanding of what's really happening. But that is the original intention. So that when you're washing away your former self, you're coming up with this devotion to follow this discipleship, to become this higher version of yourself. So then you become more like the Christ in that, and that you claim that human divine birthright by claiming your sovereignty, by acting in free will and not by affect consciousness. So let's see, redemption is no laughing matter, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. So again, coming down to earth and going through suffering and going through this process of awakening the soul and being redeemed by the Christ, and going through redemption and redeeming our spirit once more in our soul. That's no laughing matter, coming down here to do this. We're doing the work of the cosmos the only way we can do it, and then the only way we can. But at the same time, we're seeing that these rags, they're talking about contempt for these clothes. The clothes is the physical body and the original, unrefined consciousness that we have and we're given, and it's got this expiration date, and it's mired with this ego that makes us fearful and selfish and self-centered and lazy, and when we have contempt for these rags, we just see that this body, it wears out, right? It just gets so tattered, and it's got a shelf life, and it's got an expiration date. But when we put the body down, we're still there. There's consciousness. We're still us. We're still the same person. And so just because we put down the flesh suit doesn't mean that like anything suddenly like profoundly changed. We have to change. We have to be the change while we're in the flesh suit, right? So, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. If the person despises the body and considers it a laughing matter, the person will come out laughing. So if the person despises the body, so again, literally, if we understand the eternal nature of what we're going into and the temporal nature that we're in, it's going to be an easier transition. But also while we're here on earth, it helps us be freer not to take everything so seriously and not to hold on so tightly to material possessions or, to things that we think we have control over, because they're fleeting and they're temporary and they can be taken in an instant. But what's eternal, what's actually of priceless value, is like what is awakened in my spirit while I'm on earth, what is awakened in my consciousness, what has awakened in my heart. Have I been able to reveal more wisdom? Have I been able to reveal more compassion, more grace, more faith, more love, more creation, more beauty in the world and within myself and within my being? Because that's what I get to take with me. It's the memories of the moments we shared with one another, with when we helped one another heal, or when we challenged one another, or when we helped one another overcome, or when we revealed something in another person that forever changed them. When we share moments of authentic love and union and fellowship, it's like when we have those moments where we truly transform something that formerly had total control over us. Those things are eternal. They alchemize what was once darkness and density and would never be eradicated from the cosmos, and would perpetuate in more fear and more negativity. And now that is forever changed. It's forever changed the trajectory of mankind and of you and of your soul. And so those things are of value. Those things are eternal. But, it's crazy how much this lines up with just the recent lessons that we've been learning through January of our dependence on material things and of others, right? Of money issues, of people literally, how many tens of thousands of people have lost their homes in, the fires out west. And so, literally having everything burned down, but so many people are reporting back saying, but like what I do have is like my family, or like once they get over the initial grief of like the loss of the material things, like they're filled with like this hope of like finding what's next and what's going to be the next chapter, and finding some deeper meaning within the whole thing. And I've heard so many more hopeful stories, crazily enough, through all of this than I have of people who feel like there's no silver lining at all, which I think is a good indication for, I think, the leaps and bounds that we've kind of jumped as a collective, in the last several years, from where we would have been before. Like, say, had this happened in 2015 or 2012, I think that we would have been handling the situation a lot differently, and we would have perceived all of these things, differently, and we would have reacted just within our own consciousness about how we responded to the situation differently. Regardless of whether you're in a major world event or just going through your own personal challenges, we're all collectively circling back to some of those lifelong patterns and fears and pains and wounds for a deeper level of awakening and understanding and healing. So let's read this one more time. Laughing. The master put it very well. Some have gone into heaven's kingdom laughing, and they have come out laughing. Someone said, that is a Christian. The person said again, that is the one who went down into the water and came up as Lord of all. Redemption is no laughing matter, but a person goes laughing into heaven's kingdom out of contempt for these rags. If the person despises the body and considers it a laughing matter, the person will come out laughing. So it is also with the bread, the cup, and oil, though there are mysteries higher than these. And so when they talk about so it is with the bread, the cup, and the oil, they're talking about the sacraments that are used for the Eucharist and for chrism. And so oil is used for chrism, and chrism is literally the oil and the spices mixed together to make anointing oil for anointing a person or praying over them or healing for them. It's only supposed to be used for that specific purpose. And the cup and the bread and the wine, that's for the Eucharist. So when we do communion and those things, it's like we take part in a physical representation, but it's really representing the spirit behind the thing, what that represents. And by marrying the understanding and the consciousness around what that item is a vessel for, it actually activates the item as a tool or a channel for the light, and it becomes anointed as an item, a holy item. So too are we, just kind of an item, but we're here to be holy channels of the light of God. And when we're set aside for that purpose, it's like by understanding and being consciously aware of the intended purpose of the technology of our soul, that too awakens our gifts and our abilities to anoint and heal others. And so it connects us or awakens or activates these higher mysteries that are like these higher powers and energies that are drawn through from a non-physical place, from the endless, from the abstract, right? From the formlessness. But we can channel them through here into the form, right? Okay, well, just that. All right, y'all. Well, tomorrow we will be back for our weekly energy oracle forecast. So until then, Godspeed and peace be with you. Ciao.